Ryan. How do you look at the quarterback position going into the offseason? Is it like anybody's job to win? Is it Gio's job, given that he ended the season as the starting quarterback, to take the lead on going into spring camp? How do you look at quarterback going into the offseason?
Well, we haven't had a chance to sit down as a staff and have discussions about personnel and all those things yet. We're worried about recruiting right now, but obviously Gio is the returning starter. The quarterback room will look different with the recent decisions by Hayden and Chris. We'll have new quarterbacks that will be coming in for next year. We'll have to sit down as a staff and evaluate the overall big picture of the offense and who's going to be the quarterback. It will be, again, a competition to see who becomes the starting quarterback, but Gio obviously will have an opportunity to re-win the job.
Go ahead, Franklin. Oops. Go ahead, Paul. Okay, Paul Franklin with the Associated Press. In what ways have you improved, or what have you learned in your first year as a head coach?
In what ways have I improved?
Well, as a coach, yeah. I mean, you were an assistant. I'm assuming you've learned some things along the way this past year. How would you kind of assess your growth?
Well, I think every year in my career, I learned something. I improved, and I like to think that I'm intentional about my growth and my improvement. First year as a head football coach, I think we've got a great plan. I've got complete faith in our plan. I've got complete faith in the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. The things that I've had to learn and adjust to as a head coach is more about time management and how to handle all the responsibilities that a head coach has to deal with. I'm a guy that's involved in X's and O's to a certain extent and want to continue to be so. But there are a lot of other things that you have to deal with as a head coach, and that's probably what I've learned the most in my first year is how to set up a schedule that allows me to do that. And I've got to continue to work on that as I go forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Chris, Sam Hellman from Scout here. Do you have any updates on Janarian Grant and being able to meet with him?
No updates.
Do you know any idea of when you think he might be able to make a decision?
No.
Chris, it's Ryan again. Just from a staff standpoint, is it your plan? Do you hope to keep all 9 assistant coaches exactly where they are? Is that your plan going into the offseason?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously in this profession, people come and go for different reasons, but I like our staff. We've got a bunch of really good people that work extremely hard, coach extremely hard, build connections and relationships with the players, and to be able to have sustained success or build sustained success in any organization, it does take consistency and continuity, and my wish is to be able to have that here at Rutgers.
To follow that up real quick, I guess the guy who probably took the most public criticism was Vince Crew. From a special teams standpoint, is that, we've all spoke, you've been critical of the special teams. Is that him? Is that a staff-wide thing? I mean, how do you look at fixing special teams? Is that on one guy, or is that a whole coaching staff kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start as I don't know about any criticism towards Vince. If there is, I don't know what that would be. Our special teams have not been very good. I think it's a number of things. We invest an insane amount of time into special teams. I've been doing this for a long time. We spend as much meeting time, walkthrough time, and practice time doing special teams as I have anywhere in my career. There's a number of things that lead to good special teams. You got to consistently be able to snap and kick and punt. You got to make sure that you can cover kicks and have the right personnel to cover kicks. And we've got to, after year one, go back and look and okay, here's what we're going to have from a personnel standpoint. Are there adjustments that we need to make based on who's going to be on this roster next year? We've got to look at everything, and not just special teams, but offense and defensively, like we always do in coaching. You go back through and evaluate your schemes, you evaluate your drills, you evaluate your meetings, job responsibilities of what you ask people to do, and reassess what next year's roster is going to look like, and identify ways to do it better, or changes that need to be made, and special teams will be no different.
Coach Paul Franklin again, if I may. Obviously, there's been a lot of negativity around the program this year, especially in your head. What do you take away from your
Say that again?
Sorry. With all the negativity that's been surrounding the program with the 2-10 record, I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about the positives that you take away from your first season.
Well, again, I don't read a lot of what's out there. I don't listen. We go to work every single day, focused on making our players better. I think we have a very positive building, a very positive program. So, I don't listen to negativity, I guess, that you say is out there. I'm focused on making our players and our program better every single day. And I think we've built a positive environment in the Hale Center, and we've built a very solid foundation that I'm excited about moving forward. And that's really where it's at.
Chris, J.P. Pelzman from Gannett, New Jersey here. You guys finished. You actually had a good game last Saturday, 4 sacks, but you finished next to last as a team in the Big Ten in that category. How important is it to generate more pressure next season, and how do you think you can do that?
It's important to generate pressure all the time. I don't know, where we're ranked, sack-wise. I don't really worry about that. I worry about ourselves. Are we better than we were a year ago, and are we going to be better next year than we were this year? I would say that we were statistically better than what it was last year. Next year, it's got to be better, and that's how I judge our progress and our improvement. We need to continue to try to develop somebody to be a pass rusher. We're going to have to look at different ways to maybe pressure the quarterback to try to impact his decision-making back there in the pocket. And we'll do that once we get a chance to sit down as a staff and go through all of our cut-ups and thoroughly evaluate the season. But we do want to be able to affect the quarterback. We pressured, a lot sometimes. Sometimes we didn't pressure a lot, depending on the team and the quarterback. But it's something that we have to do a better job of, and we'll find ways to do that as we move forward.
Coach, it's Bobby from Rivals. I just wanted to ask you about recruiting junior college guys. What's kind of your stance on that, and is it a little more difficult because of the academic requirements at Rutgers?
Yeah, I think junior college recruiting is different everywhere that you are. Each institution recruiting junior colleges may be easier or more of a challenge. In the Big Ten, when you look at the Big Ten in general, the Big Ten is not a huge junior college league. It never has been and probably never will be. It's an academic league, which I really appreciate and enjoy being a part of. If there's a junior college player out there that fits Rutgers academically, socially, and athletically, then yeah, we'll take a look at them if we think that's the best route to go. But we're not going to go build a program off of junior college kids. We want to be building a program off of player development and players in our program for 4 and 5 years.
Chris, Sam again, building on recruiting. How is your message being received on the road right now? It seems like in talking to recruits that there's a lot of excitement, even though it was a 2-10 season.
It's being received just like it was when we walked in the door a year ago. We have a plan. We have a vision. We've got good people on board to try to execute it. Told them from day one, this is, give them a real message that, to build the type of program that we want to build. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. But they've really, I think, have been believing in our plan, and they've built great relationships with our plan are going to hold those relationships that we've built pretty strong.
Chris, it's Ryan again. To follow up on what Chris said, we know it's not easy, but you just kind of made it sound easy about relationships. We've seen it here not work when the team is losing. Obviously, it happens other places. In today's day and age with kids and social media and flip-flopping, how hard is it exactly? What can you tell us about keeping a class together when you have a losing season?
Well, it can be challenging, absolutely. Probably more challenging if been in the program for 4, 5, 6 years, and we start to have a downward trend. Then it becomes that much more difficult. We're in year one of a building cycle, and it's obviously a lot easier to go out and sell your plan and your vision in year one than it is in year 5 or 6, and that's really where it's at. And you talked about social media. It's just media in general, not just social media. It's media in general that does play and have an effect on the thoughts and attitudes towards the program. Is it all negative? Are there positive things going on? Positive things being written and talked about that build towards a better future? Well, that helps the perception of programs too. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I think right now, after year one, our vision, our plan doesn't change, and it's a lot easier to go out and keep those relationships strong and keep that message strong, unlike it would be in 5, 6, or 7.
Chris, JP again. How much did it mean to you to hear? I mean, I'm sure you've heard about it, that so many of the departing seniors just really spoke highly of you and the rest of the staff. How much does that mean going forward to kind of have to have them in your corner and then have them publicly say, hey, these guys are headed in the right direction?
Well, I mean, I think it shows that the plan is working. We came in here. This is a relationship-based program, both with the players, player to player, player to coach, and with recruits also. And I think the fact that we've been able to build some very strong relationships with the players in the program, that's part of the process to building a program that can sustain success. And I think that message kind of reinforces what we've been able to do in year one. Is it an event that just happened? No, it's a process, and we need to continue to build strong relationships, continue to build relationships based on trust with player to player and player to coach, and we'll continue to work that. That never ends, and it's just a nonstop process. But I like the process, and I like the progress that we have made in year one with that.
Rich, it's Sarah Sullivan from the Record. Did you find yourself finding time at all after the Maryland game to just reflect? I know you don't have a lot of time, but just on what the first year was like, how hard, how not, just your own personal reflection on what it was like to have been, to have coached your first year as a head coach.
Yeah, I do a little bit. I spend some time to go back and look at, really every time we have an event, whether it's a recruiting event, some event with the players, it's a training camp, it's spring practice, it's summer workouts, it's a game week. I evaluate each event at the end of that event and not necessarily at the end of the year, and I take notes. So I've got some fairly thorough notes that I've taken throughout the year. Good notes, bad notes, things that we need to adjust going into year two, things we liked, after year one. I've taken a little bit of time and reflected on the end of the season and some things that we have to discuss as a staff moving forward. But I'm really focused on just continuing to move forward and continue to identify ways to keep getting better, developing the players and recruiting. But yeah, we've reflected, I have, and evaluated everything that we've done, not necessarily just after the Maryland game, but right after every event that took place.
We'll take 2 more questions, guys.
Coach Paul Franklin, again, AP. In terms of performance inside the lines, could you give me some general thoughts about how you think the guys did overall?
Well, I think the record, speaks to that a lot. I mean, we're 2-10. It's not what anybody wants in a program. Not satisfied with that. Not happy with that. We came here to try to build a team that will compete and then we'll win. And I do think that we built will compete. Now, do we necessarily do that on the scoreboard, every week? No, we didn't. We got shut out for, I think, 4 games. I'm not happy with that at all. But again, is the year one a disappointment or a loss? No, it's not. We've done a lot of positive things in this program, but on Saturdays, I get it. As we move forward, I'm going to be judged by wins and losses, and we've got to continue to build the program so we are getting more wins than losses down the road.
Hey, Coach.
Brian.
Oh. Okay, right. It's okay.
Any chance Chris, any chance that after the your first offseason, you didn't have a lot of transfers, obviously. Can you quantify, are you expecting a lot of matriculation out of this program? Any way to quantify that? And then if I could just add on to that, the last time we talked to you about Najee Clayton specifically in October, you said you hadn't heard from him. Any update as to has he requested one?
I haven't heard anything from Najee Clayton, so he has not been with us, and I don't know what Najee Clayton is doing. I love Najee. Wish him nothing but the best. Really appreciated him being part of our program and his time here in our program. And whatever he chooses to do down the road, I wish him nothing but future success. In terms of transfers, every year, every program goes through. It won't be the same team next year. Every team is different. Every year is different. We'll have a lot of players back. We'll have a new group of recruits that come in. We'll have some players that decide to either end their careers or maybe look elsewhere to play, and that's just part of the process. And sit here and say we're going to have 10 players transfer, we're going to have 5 players transfer. I can't tell you that. We'll have some that make decisions to go elsewhere. That happens a lot in every